It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies of Your View. Hello.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
Amazing.
Cool.
Special birthday shout out today to our producer.
Bolaji in the building.
Happy birthday
Mrs. Bolaji
to you.
Ogoli.
Yes. Bolaji Ogoli is our producer, and today is our birthday. So we're saying happy birthday,
You should have a picture up. I don't even know why we didn't think of having a picture
because she's the producer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know. You should have a picture up.
But we also have a camera, our cameraman whose birthday is today. Shegun, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Shegun.
It's also my other sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Sister Mariam.
Sister Mariam, happy birthday.
Nice.
As the first child of my family.
Oh, happy Auntie Mariam, Sister Mariam.
I call Sister
Mariam, happy birthday.
All right, so I had a very interesting weekend. We had fun in church. It was fit fab fun, women exercising, all of that, which was good. But I had a conversation with someone, you know, when people do this empowerment thing. So this man is a politician and he wanted to do an empowerment. He already got the funds to empower people in his constituency and he wants to just dole out 50-50K to a group of women. And I'm like, okay. And I told him, Yoruba, teba funyo lobo, omaton, teba funyo lobo. They will use it forever. Meaning, if I give you money, it will finish. If I give you a trade, I give you a skill, you will use it forever. And, you know, the man kept repeating it as, like, I was feeling very, like, he's an older man. Because, I was feeling very wise. But I realized many of us want to give, and we tend to just give monetary, and we throw money at situations. Right. If you give me money right now, I'll probably first think of all my basic needs before thinking at a business to invest in. So let's start thinking of how to, real empowerment is not just dashing people money. It's about giving them skills and helping them to build sustainable businesses. All right, how are you doing, Nima?
I'm very good. I'm very grateful to God. So I had a shock on Wednesday. I had a small domestic accident in the house with my children. I ran to the hospital. I came home 12 a.m. I was really, really scared.
Nobody was hurt
eventually. But yesterday we took out the stitch. Everything is fine. What happened again? I can't share. I really was speechless for all through the weekend, but I'm so grateful to God that, you know, things are fine now. And I must say thank you to Yolu again. Yolu, you're just an amazing person.
God bless you. We know how supportive you are to Nima.
Thank you. Well, how are you doing, Mariam?
I'm fine. I'm still doing my own self-preservation because of the coronavirus. So I remember you invited me for your church thing. Then I recall there'll be too many people there, sweat everywhere, saliva everywhere, coughing. I just don't want to get into that. So I stayed in my house.
But you did not yet.
You have enough space between us. Please, don't joke with this thing.
Okay,
anyway, so I went for, I found this place where they sell organically raised animals like chicken. So you get good eggs from there, organic eggs. Their meat is grass-fed meat and everything. So it was good for me. I just went shopping, and then you can shop there, and then they'll deliver to your house.
For real?
So I just
in this Nigeria?
In this Nigeria, a woman owns this, and it's a, what do you call it? An abattoir where, so she has that. And so it made me, no, it's in Lekki, but they deliver anywhere and everywhere in Lagos.
But they would start bombarding your social media now. Give us the name of the place.
Yes, but you see, when women are involved in things, she also posted that one of her butchers is a female when she was celebrating yesterday International Women's Day. You know, women are getting into these areas where it's typically for the male-dominated areas. And when we get in there, somehow we think things through. We understand that mothers want to give their children healthy meals. Good food. So, well done, women.
Well done. Unfortunately, that's
busy day. How are you doing?
I'm actually, thank you for reminding me. Gosh, thank you for reminding me. I'm moderating a talk today at Radisson Blu. It's on renal disease. Kidney disease, actually, and the fact that then we don't talk about it, you know, and the stats show that 1 in 10 would have it. Even if you don't have it now, there's a possibility 1 in 10 eventually. So it's a conversation that must be had.
And a lot of people, a lot of the fundraising that we have. Presently, I'm raising funds for one person going through that.
So it's a major conversation. I'm really excited about it. So. All right, let's go on a break. We have two amazing guests. We're still in that International Women's Day mood. It was yesterday, lots of women out. So today we have two amazing guests. We're going to be talking about women's stuff. A lot of men might not like the show today, but you know what? Give us our day. We're going to talk. Anyway, we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with the Vanguard. APC crisis latest. Imo Osun governors, South leaders rally for Shomole. NCC deactivates 2.2 million improperly registered SIM cards. Fayose Olujimi in verbal war over Ekiti PDP World Congresses. COVID-19, 23 suspected cases identified in 5 states. Reps move to protect judges from arrest and prosecution. 400,000 may go as TRCM begins nationwide screening of teachers today. Christian elders sad over retention of service chiefs. And FG writes Serap demands list of ex-governors and ministers collecting life pensions. Let's start with the NCC deactivating 2.2 million. What's that story?
So the NCC, that's the National, let me get the quote right, has deactivated improperly registered numbers, about 2.2, the National Communication Commission has deactivated 2.2 lines. So they've been complaining about this over and over again, that people should register their lines. They've compelled telecommunication networks to update everybody's lines because crimes take place with these numbers. But now they've deactivated 2.2 million numbers in a way to cut out people that haven't registered properly. Deactivated completely right now, which is good.
And 400,000 may go as TRCN, as teachers.
Yeah, so that's the story I was really prepared for. So TRCN is the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, and they have put together a process where every teacher must be licensed and certified. The licensing process means you're certified. This was supposed to end. The deadline for every teacher in Nigeria between primary school and secondary school to register for their TRCN was December last year. And they gave the 2 months grace that if after these 2 months of grace we've given you, you haven't registered, then you might lose your job. So they're going to go on mass implementation of this.
Interestingly,
with UBEB.
Interesting. Lots of states are actually hiring teachers, and many of them have complained that we don't have enough people coming to apply.
But we must have qualified teachers.
Quality teachers. For Nigerian teachers.
So quality teachers. This TRCN is supposed to fight the issues with non-qualified teachers. So
okay, let's move on to the Nigerian Tribune very quickly. Coronavirus, 16 million people quarantined in Italy. Economy in further strain as Saudi Arabia declares oil price war. Why youth smashed my vehicle, says Imo governor. APC crisis, my notice of NEC meeting legitimate, says Oshomoli. Flaws in Nigeria's federalism causing problems, says Fayemi. Nasarawa United player Chineme Martins dies while playing. And Nigerians face 10-day blackout as Gencos battle gas shortage.
So the Saudi Arabians decided to upgrade the number of crude that they drill per day. And that is certainly going to affect the prices of oil. So we are projecting that a barrel will drop to less than the budget we have, which is we'll get to about $20 per barrel. Some are saying $30 per barrel, but any which way it is, it's going to affect what we have as our projected barrel profit this year. We are already, we are at 57. We're projecting that we'll have a profit because, it dropped to $53 per barrel, but it's further dropped, and it's certainly going to affect our budget this year.
Furthermore, coronavirus.
Yes. So all over the world, we have, like in Italy, right now they're saying 16 million people are being quarantined. We heard about what happened in China in the makeshift centers that they made for them, for these people with the virus, and it collapsed and 10 people died. So all in all, in the world, people are struggling, the US as well. But in Nigeria, we still do not have any new cases. There were some 3 that were quarantined, and it shows that they're negative. And
there's a Nigerian in the US,
there's a Nigerian in the US. There's nothing further. It just says a Nigerian in the US has the virus.
Doesn't appear, that was pretty much
the Tribune, a complete town, a town called the region of Lombardy in Italy is totally quarantined. Over about, it was about 16 million people because they have new cases there of about 2,000 people. Who took
Imo State governors?
I took it to.
I heard Dioha.
So Imo State governor,
God will judge you.
Responded on a condolence visit to a community where a petrol truck had killed 3 members of the community. And while he was trying to talk to the youth, one of them got enraged and started throwing stones at his car. But the report was that he was attacked by the people that they were questioning how he became governor, but that wasn't the real story. His press media and media handlers have, responded to that story, giving us the real facts, saying that it was while he was trying to converse with them, the youth got agitated. He was able to calm them down, and while he was talking, one of them started to throw stones at his car, at his entourage.
In a related story, the same governor here said that God will judge will render the ultimate judgment for those that evil has been done against him. I now remembered what former the late Dele Giwa had said, that no evil will go unpunished. That this one that they did to him, God will judge them.
There's a story of interest that we've skipped. And
in the Tribune?
It's about the SERAP. So the federal government has written to SERAP to submit the list of ministers. So SERAP got a judgment in 2017 from Justice Oluremi Oguntoyinbo saying that every federal government should recover pensions collected by former governors now serving as ministers and people in the House of Assembly. And I feel that this is a story that we should pay attention to. But the judgment hasn't been it hasn't been enforced. So we still have people serving us right now, collecting pensions as governors while still collecting their wages as ministers and House of in the House of Assembly. So the federal government has now asked SERAP that SERAP should let them know the people that is affecting.
Okay, moving on to the nation very quickly. APC crisis, governors take Oshamole's case to Villa. Nigerians shun POS transaction overcharges. 3 held for removing human skull from cemetery. Oshimbajo on an asset, says Buhari. Nigerian in the US test positive of COVID-19, and NCC deactivates 2.2 million SIM cards.
POS transaction overcharges. So we remember there was a time that the 15 naira stamp duty was placed, and supermarkets and fuel stations, were taking those charges whenever you use your POS, and they also reversed that policy. But these merchants have refused to reverse taking 15 naira off people using the POS when they come to do transactions with them. So Nigerians have decided to use their money to make a statement. So all the money, So they said transactions has fallen from 4.83 billion, the volume from 4.83 to 41.3 billion since December now, and then that's about 60 billion that is no longer used. So Nigerians understand the power of their money, and they're deciding we're not going to be paying these extra charges if we will not enforce that.
Who has a human skull story?
Yes, so this happened in Trinity Cemetery. It's a public cemetery in Ajigule. An very old man, he's 70, who guards this cemetery, was found digging up 3 skulls, and it was said to have sold the skulls to 2 other people, men that are herbalists. So those herbalists said they tend to use it for their charms and herbs, but the man was selling each skull for 10,000 naira. He's a 70-year-old man. It's really bad, but the police spokesperson has already said that they are going to be prosecuting the 3 of them, and every other person caught patronizing the herbalist, because this herbalist said that he usually grounds these skulls and use it to do charm for people, and so the chain of line. All
right, we have to run, but let me take this final story in this day. Port congestion, NPA moves to take over APM operations. Who has that story?
I do. So NPA may be taking over the operations of AP Mala if they do not comply with the terms of agreement. So they were given a 1-month ultimatum, and this is because of their inefficiency in handling their cargo, in handling of their cargo, and it's causing congestion. Of course, we know the story of the ports, and they seem to be like a major player in causing the congestions and all the inefficiencies that's happening there. And they have spoken to them. They've even talked to their parent company in the Netherlands, just telling them all the things that they have been doing wrong. And it seems we haven't heard anything from them. So if nothing is heard from them today, the Nigerian government will step in.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we're commemorating World International Women's Day, and we have 2 amazing guests with us. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So yesterday, actually, not yet recently, was International Women's Day. It's always a day set aside all over the world to celebrate women's social, economic, cultural issues. It recognizes the achievements made by women all over the world, also brings awareness to the obstacles that still stand in our way today. This year's theme is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights. To commemorate International Women's Day, we have with us in the studio the MD, Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala-Usman, and also the UK Deputy High Commissioner in Nigeria, Lagos, Harriet Thompson. Welcome to the show. Ladies, good to have you. You can call us on 070-8066800. 014. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag TVC so we can read your tweets. Because of limited time, we're going to go straight into it. Let's talk about women issues. Let's break it down as it is. It's generation equality. They're saying we're trying to have that each for equal theme. That's the theme this year. In your work and your experience, what issues have you come across when it comes to issue of equality and the acceptance of the roles women have today? Because we've found that a lot of men, or the society hasn't totally come to accept the roles women play in today's times. So in your work, how has that happened in your life, and how would you like to share some of those stories with us today?
Well, I think it's different all over the world. My experience in Nigeria is of having met some incredible women like Hadiza sat right next to me, but there's women like Amina Mohammed, women like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, so many amazing women in Nigeria, and yet still, on the other side of the coin, we have the highest number of out-of-school children in Nigeria, and the vast proportion of those are girls. We have really poor women's health outcomes in Nigeria, so women's access to family planning methods so that they can decide when to have children, how many children to have. The maternal mortality rate is still far too high. So there's a real, there's a long way to go, and not only in Nigeria, in my country as well. So in the Global Gender Gap Index, for example, the UK actually fell this year.
Wow. The major issue women tend to have, even when we've gotten outside the case of what we're now educated, yes, women are now educated, they now have the requisite skill to get the job, is that when we face interviews and a man is facing that same interview, a man and a woman comes out with different pay. And in most cases, the man's zone is usually higher. And I've heard about people, psychologists and psychoanalysts, saying that men tend to be brought up bold enough to ask for more, and we just tend to appreciate whatever we get as women. How do we, in addressing each for equal, bring a bit of equality in wages and income being earned by men and women?
I think it's to do with mentoring our young girls from beginning to make them realize they carry the same value as the boys. I always reference that when we're paying our school fees for our male and female children, there's no difference in how much you're paying for the male and the girl child. So from that point, you make them understand they're on equal levels and they should demand and occupy their space irrespective of gender. Some of the things that we've seen is the fact that across the board, girls are always falling through the cracks. When you look at dropout rates in secondary school, it's the girls. When you look at in workplace, you see the number of girls that start up, like at entry level, you have a high number of girls, young women. And then once we get to managerial position, you find them falling through the cracks. And these are typically attributable to the challenging years in your life when you're having children, when you're nurturing your marriage. And within those 0 to 5 years, when you're starting up a family, it's usually challenging. And some women and young girls are not able to stay on that track. And I think in a lot of instances, some of us that find ourselves in a position of authority that can mentor, it's that period that we need to get in there and provide them with the support, both official and unofficial, to allow them some level of slack to ensure that they remain on that treadmill.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Nima.
I wanted to talk about what women do to contribute to some of this that we talked about, maybe lesser pay, because whenever we're in the workplace, for instance, women sort of find comfortable places in the lesser places. So you don't want to be out there confronting the men when you don't want to seem to be an aggressive person. I don't know whether it's maybe because of our culture as well, but how do we change women from having that mindset that I just want to be called a good woman, and this is your career you're talking about. There's nothing wrong going out there to get it. But you don't want to be called maybe or called names at it.
It's funny how we attach different adjectives to the same behavior if it's women or men displaying it. So a woman is aggressive and a man is bold, ambitious, for example. So I think there's that bit that starts from early childhood about changing the boys' perceptions as well as the girls. And then women supporting women. And one of the things that really frustrates me is when people say, oh, we don't see enough women supporting women. Whereas all the women that I've met are mentoring, they're coaching, they're bringing people up. The amount of time that all of us put in around International Women's Day to raise awareness of the issues. But on a small scale, for example, when a woman says something sensible in a meeting, let's all lean in behind her and say, very good point.
Actually, that was where my question is coming from, women supporting women. And we see women like you, right at the top of your careers right now. A lot of people are watching you and are being, even not being close to you, just mentored by your progress, you know, in society, and inspired by what you're doing. But in real life, while you were making your progress, would you say that there was more support from women, or do you think that it was necessary to have the male support to get you to where you are today?
Well, I think it's across both genders. In getting to a position of leadership, you have both men and women support you. But importantly, when you have a woman, it speaks to beyond like mentoring. It also makes you feel, I can do it because she's there. Her teaching you and guiding you makes you really relate to that. So just as you mentioned, a lot of us are doing mentoring, but beyond that is what we do on a day-to-day basis that further mentors people. Just watching what you do and how you conduct yourself in itself is one thing. But leaning in there to support each other is important. Just as Harriet said, when a woman is out there, we need to all support, even if it's in meetings, we need to, you know, get in there to put the additional support. But I'll just like to also add that it's important for us also as women to realize that our capacity and our competence is important beyond being a girl, beyond your gender. So while you might get there because of certain things, you need to be able to do what is expected of you, not just to carry the, oh, I'm a woman and I should be given that opportunity. While the opportunity is there, you also need to be able to, walk the walk and get the job done. At the end of the day, what matters is being able to fill in that space and occupy it and own it in terms of capacity and competence.
Let me come to Harriet for a second. I know that UK is doing a lot of work in Nigeria. What programs are you putting together for to celebrate World International Women's Day?
So let me talk about some of the work that we're doing. It starts from those basics. So a lot of work to support maternal mortality and improve rates there, support to provide family planning, support to get more girls into school, and then as young women should be beginning their careers, if they've had a gap in their education, there's some support to fill in those gaps. We're working to support local organisations to promote women's participation in politics right from the very lowest levels so that you can build that career up and we'll get more women into leadership positions. And then in women in the economic space, particularly looking at financial inclusion, or for example, women in the tech space and supporting women leaders in that space. So a real variety. And then for International Women's Day particularly, we showcased some young female artists on Friday night, giving them a voice and a platform that they wouldn't otherwise have. We are this evening working with some change makers, so some pioneers in their fields, across different fields. And so young women can hear those stories, can have some time speed mentoring with them.
Great stuff.
Yeah, so recently there was the African UK Summit, and of course you were part of that conversation, and a lot of monies were talked about that's going to be coming to Nigeria, South Africa, and it's about investors. And I was wondering, while you were there, did you look around and see, would you say there was enough women participation? Is there enough women participation at that level? Yeah.
So my answer to that question is going to be no. I suspect that for the rest of my lifetime, my answer sadly is going to be no, because it's going to take a long time to change these things. However, there was a real focus on promoting women at that event, and Nigerian women were well represented there. So for example, West Africa ENRG is a power company that works in Lagos State and other places in the south, really showcased, run by a Nigerian woman, some of the incredible female young entrepreneurs who are running startups, doing really good stuff, were really visible there.
Okay, because it's World International Women's Day again, we must bring back the issue of the Chibok Girls, which you were on the forefront of. How much more is the work going on, the advocacy to bring them back? Is it dying down? Because it sort of
seems like it.
It seems like it's dead already. So is there something still being done? Is there a possibility? Are you hopeful that, you know, these girls will come back?
Yes, about the Chibok Girls, I think it's not dying out. I wear my badge all the time, wherever I go. It's been a long time, but we still maintain the advocacy. What's important is, while we're hopeful to have all the Chibok Girls rescued, we're also, it's always been about everyone that has been captivated by Boko Haram. So beyond the girls, but just to raise awareness of the whole incidence of the insurgency. So we've seen quite a huge number of people being rescued outside of the Chibok Girls, and that is always welcome and celebrated. celebrated. And we continue to advocate and to keep in the consciousness of the world that girls remain in captivity while the government should continue to search for them, but they should be mindful of every other person that has been held captive, and also to prevent additional kidnap or such incidences. So advocacy remains. We have sit-outs in Falamo, in Lagos, and also in Abuja. So there is continued advocacy.
Okay, we have to run it, but I know that Harriet has to be somewhere. Is there any final questions for Harriet?
Okay, so I wanted to ask concerning, we mentioned it, how out of school children, how are we raising, and I realize that sometimes it's about awareness. Many parents, when you tell them, when they have to choose between who stays at home, they'll prefer the girl child stays at home and then the boy goes to school. How is your organization raising awareness to educate parents, especially illiterate parents, that it is important to get their children to go to school? So maybe it's just suffer a bit during the day and ensure the girl goes to school. What any project are you doing towards raising that awareness?
So, I mean, I think the key thing is to raise income levels, as well as raising the quality of education, the places available for education, so that people don't need their children to stay behind at home. So we're doing a lot of work with rural communities, particularly to support their income levels, be they involved in agriculture or other small-scale enterprises. And then you don't need either of your children to stay back, right? But there's also the question of the quality of education once they're at school, and one of the headlines this morning referred to that. So making sure that when they're there, they're being educated by teachers who really understand their stuff.
I have to let you go, Harriet, but one final question. One of the issues people have with international interventions is the fact that we don't have that scale-up opportunity. We always feel like once they bring this intervention, it just ends there. Once it comes in, it ends. What's your commission doing to ensure that whatever intervention you provide is sustainable?
Yeah, so it's a key factor in how we design all of our programming, actually, and it's one of the things that our international, the international organisation that looks at aid effectiveness, it's one of the things that they think about. So rather than going and providing the education, we're making sure that teachers are trained to provide the education, for example.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go on a break now. We come back. I know a lot of people are saying Hadiza here. Trust me, there are lots of Hadiza type of questions, like the ports authorities, the congestion. Those are issues we want to talk to her about. So we're going to go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we have with us exclusively now Hadiza Bala-Usman. I like to go, I like to start from when you got the job as NPA boss. A lot of people said that you're a woman, how can a woman get there? It's impossible. She has to be either El Rufai's girlfriend or maybe Buhari's niece or something. There was some stories around there. And how did you respond to the fact that everybody assumed that you're El Rufai's, the governor of Kaduna State's girlfriend?
Yeah, I think that's an overflogged story that has been going on forever. I'm definitely not his girlfriend. He's my mentor, he's my boss, and he's been very supportive of my career and every other woman that has worked for him. As you're aware, Kaduna State is the first state in the northern Nigeria to have an elected female governor. So you can see he has that commitment towards having women in position of authority, and that's what he's been doing, and he'll continue to do that. So that rumor is completely untrue. Yeah. Yes, and I'll say these are the things that they say to women to pull us down. Yes. To say that for everything you've done in terms of showcasing your competence, they always reference it and attribute it to the fact that you're in a relationship with another person. They forget to look at the capacity you bring to bear, to the extent that whatever it is that you're doing it with high competence. That is why you're being recommended.
Because you see, when a woman merits certain things, it's women who usually start this conversation. Women naturally, get attracted to women who merit. Think what they earn. So some men would just love you for being brilliant, for being intelligent. The competition usually is from a woman because of their insecurities.
Because bottom line is that you have a job and you perform. So when people reference that, oh, you got there because you're so-so-so's girlfriend, that is a pull down, they're trying to pull you down. But your commitment and the work that you do, okay, my competence, is it being the girlfriend that gets the job done? Evidently not. So focusing on doing the work is...
That's one. So you finally get the job.
Yes. And
then while you're at the place, it just seems that women, especially women in positions like you, first of all, you're not meant to be there. You're a woman. Second of all, there's so many stereotypes that you have broken from the north, and maybe you're supposed to be, because you're from the north, you're meant to be soft-spoken. To be aggressive would be, you have no home training. So how do you face challenges where people will step up to you, even though as boss, I'm like, well, you're just a woman, I have your type at home anyway, so.
Have you ever had that?
Yes.
Well, I've never had that in terms of the exact words, but you can see from the nuances and the attitude, that is the message they're trying to send. I just remain bold and confident and keep doing what I'm doing, and also always be better than them. That's another thing with men. Always know more than they know. Always be better prepared than they are. You know your work, you know your content, so there's no way they can intimidate you. And these issues are on a day-to-day basis where you're always reminded that you shouldn't be in this place. They're always telling you, good morning, sir. They're always referencing position of authority in their minds is that of a male. So they always feel that.
Let me go to the issue of nepotism.
Yes.
Because a lot of issues, Nigerians feel a lot that the presidency have been getting a lot of, appointing northerners for key Ports Authority, finance, even NNPC, the whole works. And there's that perception that every other region is left out. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
Well, what I'm saying is that that Minister of Finance is the person not capable and competent, is the person not qualified. The Managing Director of Nigerian Ports, how has she performed in the last 3 years? Has she been competent or not? You know what I mean? So to that extent, when we narrow and limit our competence to our ethnic and religious backgrounds, I think is reducing what we are as a people. People should ascribe to be in position because of their capacity and competence, not to do with where they come from. Where they come from.
It's visible. It's almost unfair when you look at it, because you cannot, seclude other regions from not being competent.
So if you step back and remember that we had a Minister of Finance that was not from the North. We had a head of FIRS that was not from the North. So we've had all those situations where there are certain times and situations where you have a particular region having at that point, who said what? What was the outcry about? If you go back 2015, there was a time where we had the NSA, the president and all coming from a particular region. So it's important for us to understand the larger play and see at the point where it wasn't favoring you, what were you saying? You were quiet. Did you raise it to say, I'm from the Southwest and we feel Southwest has so much dominance? Minister of Works, Minister of Finance, FIRS, all of these vice presidents were all from the Southwest at that point. Did we hear the Southwest saying that we have too many positions? I don't recall hearing that. So it's important for us to balance that. No.
Because it's not your decision.
No, as a people, sometimes we try to reduce our positions around religious and ethnic background lines. And I think I detest that, because I was brought up in a university environment where religion and ethnicity is nothing. My best friends are Christians and are not houses. So I don't have that mindset. And I think as a people, this pulls us down as Nigerians, where everything we do, we reference, oh, she's Yoruba, oh, she's Igbo, she's Christian, she's Muslims. I think we have to move away from there for the country to progress and for us to sort of
tying the issues of underdevelopment and on the crisis we have in Nigeria, on unemployment, high rate of poverty, poor people, and the confirmed statistics is that the majority of the poor we have come from the North. And we obviously see that there's a lot of wealth concentrated among very few in the North. What do you think? And I've seen the governors are doing a bit. We've seen the sort of responsiveness towards mitigating these issues. But what would you think is the best approach to dealing with the issue of unemployment, lack of proper education, and the high rate of poverty within that northern region of Nigeria?
I think these are key issues that need to be looked at. You reference education. It's important, as you know, primary education is that of the governors. So subnationals need to work harder to do that. We need to have key infrastructure. Energy is important. For us to have small and medium enterprises, we must have our power structure right. We must have interconnection to the hinterland to enable evacuation of farm produce or any form of additional value addition in that sector, which is the key, I'll say, economic driver in the northern region. Education is a no-brainer. We must educate our youth, and I think state governors, subnationals need to be very bold in identifying the key issues around quality. Our education is beyond quantity of building classrooms and providing chairs. You need to look at the content, the teachers, how our training. Yes, our teacher training institutes, how improved are they? What do our teachers know that they're transferring to our children? So yes, this is a huge challenge that is facing the North, and I think the northern governors need to be more aggressive and bold in taking very tough decisions around it. And for the federal government, electricity infrastructure is beyond key, and I think that is a major...
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll now focus on ports congestion. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, the issue of ports. I think I'd like to give Nima the opportunity to set the ball rolling on this one. Go ahead, please.
Okay, let me start on a good note. Well done for what you did with the APM this morning. Yes. Regulation is simply what we needed. And I would focus on bonded terminals now because everybody's focusing on Apapa, but then the decongestion is bringing them towards me. There's one called GMT on the Abolition Radio Road, and the activities also need regulation. I see lesser regulation. Up until this Friday, I had never seen the MPA come there to see and look into their activities, and they could have the entire community locked in or locked out. One of the excuses is that they give emails before they allow their trucks come in, so they are not responsible for the trucks parking on the road. That's irresponsible of any management to say, your activities will affect the community and you're denying responsibility for the attendant effects of what your profit making. Who will do it all accountable and how should they operate? Regulation now, NPA as a regulatory body, because I found out I was blaming Shippers Council. I was speaking with Shippers Council only to find out it's the NPA's business. How does the NPA, without being called upon, without the community clamoring, how do you do your checks and make sure that the activities are properly regulated?
Yeah, what we do is that we ensure, for example, the operations of bonded terminals and other terminals are synchronized in terms of inflow and outflow. But the issue of the road, we really don't have jurisdiction over those roads. Those roads are under LASMA, they're under Federal Road Safety Corps. So while our job is to ensure that whoever is defining a call-up system to say that X number of trucks are coming, you have to ensure that there's synergy in the number of trucks that are coming. But to, for example, go on the road and say, oh, you truck driver, you must park here. The truck drivers literally tell us that it's not, we will not listen to you. So we do have a Nigerian Police Force command that is also part of, under the IG of Police Superintendents over the CPs that are there. So there is police, there is LASMA, there's Road Safety Corps that need to work together to synchronize that regulation on traffic.
Not working together,
and I keep saying that the state government also needs to take ownership of traffic control, local government and state, because some of the issue of traffic is not what you can as Nigerian Ports.
This breaks my heart because I have called on the GM of LASMA, although we couldn't talk because it was at an event, about that road. I was sitting there for 2 hours. It didn't make any sense. If you're supposed to manage traffic. But then again, they would say, this area is not our area. They make excuses. I would expect that the MPA now being a regulatory body calls on them, because when authority calls authority, makes it more easier. It's like having a synergy between yourselves as
task force on that. So it's even beyond calling on. There's a presidential task force that has it's still ongoing actually. That is led by the Office of the Vice President.
Focusing on the Maltu.
They're supposed to do everything in totality, which includes having that. And we have called upon. So everybody needs to do what is their bit in terms of getting the congestion of the Apapa area.
I don't. We're doing the symptoms. I like us to go back to the root cause.
Yes.
Because people have suggested that the process should be automated, such that because we have congestion. Why are the trucks on the road? Because they can't get through. What are you doing to get these processes automated such that they actually move faster?
Well, they are not.
We have signed an e-call-up system where we have electronic call-up to be in the ports and in the truck locations. But the important point that you raise is the fact that why are the trucks on the road? Because they don't have a designated place to park. This is what I've been talking about. Hold on, the Tinubu. That is what I've been talking about, the need for Lagos State government and Nigerian Ports. Lagos State, you are the custodian of land. Provide the trailer park, Orile Park.
Yes.
Okay, now if Orile Park would be provided, then we'll install a call-up system in Orile Park and have all the trucks that are part of the call-up system can come to the ports. So when the trucks wake up in the morning and just drive to the ports without designated location where they park, we have now signed up an agreement on electronic call-up with Lily Pond, and Lagos State government is linking up Orile Park. Ogun State government is providing another truck park where you're going to have a truck coming from Ogun State would now transition in Orile Park and now come to Lily Pond, part of an electronic call-up before it comes to the ports. So only trucks that are linked into that system will now access the port. So that will reduce that. No.
You would be responsible. You see,
so if you are coming to the port, if you are coming to let me finish this. If only trucks that are part of that e-call-up will come to the port.
Okay. So the question now is that I've asked this question to the LASMA boss. You say, oh, it's not me, it's the police. I'm asking you, say, no, it is the police. We're linking the...
So now what we're doing is...
if we now have this call-up system done, because currently the
we don't have it,
they have a mail sent. who's responsible for a truck that isn't in the call-up system, that goes on the road and obstructs traffic? Who holds that truck responsible? Who would punish the
Nigerian police force would punish that truck. But what is important is having that call-up system. So if a truck comes to the road with no call-up and comes to the port, you cannot enter the port. So that truck automatically now has no business.
Pounded?
It's an issue of economics. If the truck knows it can't go in, they'll stop coming.
Yeah.
The reason why they're coming is because they feel they're bribing somebody to get into the port. That is why they keep coming.
So
and
this
1, 2, 3, 4 times you see that you can't circumvent that electronic call-up, they will stop coming.
Right, let me take this call from
this morning
Mariam, hang in there. Let me take this call first and I'll come to you. Good morning, are you there?
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you very much for calling, Mr. Hassan.
Please, I'm very much interested in this issue of Apapa congestion.
Yes.
It's a major problem. And the problem we're having in Nigeria is that we don't tell the truth to the leadership. Hadiza Bala-Usman, the MD of Nigerian Ports Authority, you tried so much as an MD, we knew where you tried. But this issue of call-up system, it was well-abused system. It's much more like shifting the goalposts of corruption. The problem of Nigerian Ports Authority, the gridlock in Apapa, is not only to Nigerian Ports Authority, to all the stakeholders that have one thing or the other to do with Nigerian ports, to get into the port. This issue of from friend to minister, from friend to president, from friend to this, from friend to that, the concessionaires have their problem. The call-up system did not work because of the corruption. The police, the army, the navy, the MPS security, NIMASA, Shippers Council are all culpable of this. Is the corruption in that call-up system.
Point taken, Mr. Hassan. I think that's the point of corruption. I'd like you to address that.
Okay, the issue of corruption, just as I mentioned, is on the corruption on the ground where people are paid collecting 100,000 naira to allow a truck. So ownership of the electronic call-up where you can circumvent that is the solution to it. And the other issue is having designated places where the truck would park. And we've had that discussion with Lagos State. They've confirmed they'll make Orile truck park available. But in the absence of where you tell somebody to park, you park anywhere. So it's just like human beings. If you don't tell me this is the only place you park, everybody will do that.
Yeah. So my question
it is an issue. And one of the things that they had tried to do is to say Nigerian ports should buy a truck park. And I don't see why it's not our responsibility to buy a truck park. It is Lagos, and Lagos State if you know, it's even a local government. Trailer park, motor park is a local government responsibility.
Okay. So my question is, why is this conversation about call-up systems, giving ultimatums to companies? Why now? What happened in 3 years, 4 years before? Why are we just having these conversations now? Because every time we have someone like you or from LASMA, from police or from the state government, they talk about these parks, this call-up system, as if it's something that's just been discussed right now. So if it's happening, it means that it will take us maybe another 3, 4 years before we see it implemented.
No.
What has been happening before then? Were we not having this conversation?
So we had a manual call-up system. And what we sought to do in Nigerian ports is we tried to do things transparently. So we advertised. We actually did like 3 adverts inviting owners of trailer parks to come and register so that we can put electronic call-up on the designated truck parks. And everybody responded that, oh no, we don't have the land. Oh, Nigerian ports come and buy a 5 billion naira land to build a truck park. And for me, a truck park is a commercial business that if MPA compels all trucks to go and park in your truck park, it's a money spinner. And government should not be made to go into a business that is not meant for government. So we advertised 2017, 18. Finally, now we sort of agreed with Lagos State government on a direct one-to-one with the governor to sign off this MOU linking. So it will not take 3 years. We're probably looking at 0 to 6 months where we'll have an e-call-up system. But there are other attendant issues that constitute the congestion. You reference the need to sanction about the issue of the concessionaires, whether they're performing. With APMT, we've had engagement discussions with them over the years on the need for them to improve on their equipment. And what culminated in this, and I think, is having not seen that material response, which led to us giving them this ultimatum, feeling which
they have the audacity not to comply with
because the
measures.
concession agreement that we have, I inherited, did not have compliance penalties for non-performance. So it says you're supposed to do 1, 2, 3, but if you don't do it, literally there's nothing that sort of says if you don't do this, this is the consequences. And this is across both sides, meaning that if government too doesn't perform, there's no consequence penalty to government. And if the constitution doesn't perform, there's no. So this is what we've done now. We've changed all of these things, and we're getting them to sign new supplementals so that
let me take
penalties.
This call. Good morning from Ikorodu. How are you there? Oh, I lost that call. Now, I wanted to ask concerning other ports.
Yes.
There's so much concentration on Lagos State. What are you doing to activate the other ports across the borders?
Okay. We have given, I'll just say that, first of all, it's a destination of choice. You determine where you want your cargo to go to. And one of the things that informs the reason why a consignee could pick Lagos is because, oh, it's easier for me to come to Lagos. Issue of insecurity in the south-south region, that is a huge concern, because if you take your cargo to that region, you need to have armed escorts escort your vessel, and that is additional cost to vessel owners. So that is discouragement. There's also the concern about how do I get my cargo from, for example, Onne to where I want it to end up being. It could be Onitsha. Okay, the road from Onne, for example, to Onitsha, can articulated trucks bearing containers traverse those roads? Is there a real connection from Warri to Aba or to Onitsha, the roads carrying trucks? So these are some of the attendant concerns. On our side, we have written to Ministry of Works identifying all of these roads, and Ministry of Works has commenced. In fact, the Calabar area from Calabar to the northeast is the shortest port. They couldn't pass because the bridge was not, meant for articulated trucks. Yes. Now they've awarded that, and that bridge is being constructed. So this is the one side, security, linkages. But in our side, we've also given additional discount on harbor dues for those locations, whereby if you take your vessel to those areas, you'd have discounts. And we have, for example, in Calabar, they've now had container vessels that have never been there. We've had flat bottom vessels come to Calabar.
Fantastic.
Port Harcourt received the largest vessel that has come to it. An LNG vessel came in the last year. Onne received, in the end of the year, the largest container vessels went to Onne port to berth in November,
Let me take this
December.
call. He's been holding for a while. Hi, good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
And then good morning to your guest. Alzan has said it all. I think it is corruption that has made us to be in this kind of situation we find ourselves. In Apapa today, if you call Lasma or you call police, whoever the security that you call, they will be chipping the goal post. That, as Hadiza Bala-Usman says earlier, that it is not their responsibility to find the where the truck will park. And if you even call the local government chairman, he may easily tell you that he lacks the capacity to build the trailer park because of. And then if you even call the state government, they may tell you that the federal government are not giving them approval to build this, to build that. But my question to Hadiza Bala-Usman is that, do you think the rail system will solve this problem? Because I believe if our rail system is working, the trailer, they don't even need to come to Apapa, because if the train works very well, they'll be carrying the load from Apapa down to wherever they carry it.
Right,
we don't need that.
All right. Rail system.
Yeah, rail, there's ongoing expansion of the rail, which is going into the ports right to the quayside. So that is
by coronavirus.
the construction is ongoing. They're doing demolitions right into the port. And just to, in addition to what he says, a very valid point he made, beyond even the rail, we must have intermodal transportation for linking the ports, which includes rail, inland waterways, and pipelines for liquid bulk. So if you look at the Apapa axis, beyond the trucks going into the ports, there are also trucks that are going into the tank farms in that area. Yes. So we should actually have liquid pipelines connecting for such evacuation.
Stopped it,
so reduced it. So you have the rail, which would significantly reduce that. And the Minister of Transportation has also confirmed that you're going to have rail connection to all ports. So every port would now have priority consideration for rail connection.
Hadiza, this issue that I'm going to ask is something that might not directly involve you, but it is related. We have these articulated trucks causing major damage on the roads. So the roads get fixed, and an articulated truck breaks down and spoils the road. A community has good roads, and then one bonded terminal comes there, and forever, for the next 4 years, all the roads there go bad. So how do we work? Because we hear blames. No, it's not me, it's this person. How do we get the team to work together that when a truck breaks down and spoils the road, even though it pays the fine, the road doesn't get fixed and the road is bad for weeks?
So you see, the road would continue to be bad if 90% of our cargo are carried on the road. So if you look at the tonnage, 1.3 million TEUs come to Nigeria and 90% of those go on the road. So in your mind, you should know that the roads will be congested and the roads will remain bad. So we must concisely, as a government, facilitate rail system, rail evacuation that moves the truck, the cargo outside of the port location. We also need to use inland waterways. We've also been given approvals for utilization of barges to move cargo outside of the port environment to other locations. So these are the things that we must do to address that. If not, our roads will keep being bad and keep being congested. And yes, rail is already ongoing. We have that. We've made significant progress in that. Inland waterways, yes, to a certain extent, but we're expanding that to make it more strengthened.
Let's talk about coronavirus now. Because, you know, Nigeria, we import almost everything. We import what we eat. And recently, there's been a rise in prices of fish because, of course, we import all the fish, almost everything that we eat with fish. What exactly is the MPA's role when it comes to regulating, because of the disease, of course, regulating vessels coming in from the countries affected? And how much of it are you seeing on the waterways?
We have, we've developed an SOP on, this is standard operations procedure as it relates to coronavirus. A meeting was called by the Federal Ministry of Health where all key stakeholders aligned and developed this SOP, which indicates what we need to do when a vessel comes. When a vessel arrives, if there's any patient on board the vessels are directed and required to put 2 yellow flags on the vessel. And when it comes, it's given a designated berthing location where the port health officials will berth the vessel on the first instance to determine the state of health of the person on board.
Sounds
and
nice.
Then there will be quarantine measures taken into place.
What about
in addition,
the goods on the vessel? When it's consumables like fish and all that?
Well, I have not seen the issue of consumables attributed to coronavirus. It's usually direct intervention where the virus has been coughed or put in a particular place. So also, in addition, flagged vessels coming from China, so that there's an additional mechanism put in place for anyone's coming from the area of Italy. We've also asked that a no handshake policy instituted in the port locations. So any crew members that are disembarking, port officials, you're required no handshake anyway in the port environs up until when we're clear.
Yeah. So away from MPA coronavirus.
Yes.
So you are from the north, and you know the narrative usually is from the north is either you're illiterate, you're poor, you know, we don't go to school, you don't speak well. But here you are, you know, championing also the cause of girls. And I'm sure there's a northern girl watching you right now. What would we say to them? Also, because a lot of people see that sort of poverty in the north, when they see you, you're like, you're so different, you're an exception. But it isn't really that way, because we went to same school, ABU Zaria, and there are many northern girls, many northern lecturers, many northern medical doctors. There are so many, but we cannot deny the numbers. So what is the problem? Is it a mindset problem? Is it a cultural problem? Is it a policy problem?
Well, there's a bit of both, or what you said as the issue. And being from the north, you know, our women are typically not encouraged to remain in work. We perceive work as, oh, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your children. And having more of us being in position of authority would make the girls feel you can do it, you can balance home and family life, and you'll be able to achieve that. And every time people tell me, for example, that, oh, you're from the north, I'm surprised, are you being articulate? I actually take offense, because there are like thousands of me. I'm just one that has been given an opportunity. You went to ABU Zaria, and a lot of us that are actually born and brought up in ABU Zaria, and I have like thousands of me everywhere. And I think it's more to do with they having that opportunity and access, because from day one, you're being looked at as, you're female, you're from the north, she's incompetent. That is the sense that is perceived. And more so in the south, when they see it's like, no, she can't do it. And so I believe...
there's also the perception that you had it easy. I mean, that's the perception I had. That you just, I mean, everything was just brought to you at the fingertips.
Actually,
when I was growing up, it was like the houses amongst us, oh goodness, they were the rich kids. They come with everything. So I always had that percent. Do you have that when people go out to just assume that you're a rich kid, you know you have all this access?
Actually, I'm not a rich kid. My father was a professor. So some of you that know the salary of a teacher, you know that where I was definitely not a rich kid. And I worked, like worked at BP, I worked at FCT, I photocopied, I typed, I was secretary, I was sent on errands, I had bosses that bullied me and made me cry. So I've gone through all of that. Being seen to have been given something on platter of gold is a completely like a normality.
As NPA boss, tell me that day when you found out you're now the boss of NPA, what did you do? What did you go drink or something? What?
I think I was shocked. One, at the enormity of confidence that the president felt he could bestow on a young northern girl. Yeah, I felt that was a lot of confidence. One of the things that really, kept me going is that, you need to be on top of it, not to disappoint anyone that had rooted for you for this position. So I closed my ears to the naysayers and I concentrated on doing my work.
I have a question from Twitter.
Yes.
So someone, apparently she's a manufacturer.
Yes.
She was now saying that manufacturers importing raw materials are suffering massively on this issue of Apapa Port. Saying we are paying millions in demurrage just because of the Apapa issue. So my challenge is there any concession? Because I know that you've already done, you've given it off to privates. Before it was all on NPA,
yes.
But now NPA has let go of some of these areas to private business.
Okay, so we
owners,
actually have, there's various legs to the issue of congestion. Issue, for example, scanning, for example, inspection of cargo, we do 100% physical examination. So for every container that comes, they have to open it and check. So you must understand how long it will take. Customs is providing scanners. They haven't provided scanners there. So if you have a scanner, the container will pass through the scanner and it now takes everything. And then, so you can imagine the time it takes for scanning and for physical inspection. So you would know automatically there will be a delay. In addition, so these are some of the things that cause delay in clearance of cargo. So while we have been challenging and forcing APMT to facilitate ease of entry, they have issued a discount of 50% for consignments that are in their terminal for consignees to come and take their cargo, and the consignees have not come to take their cargo. So that even in itself, that in itself is an issue.
I know we already tried to get as much as possible. I'll take a few tweets, but I know that I have to run off now. But thank you so much for coming here. We have to bring you back.
Yes, I look forward to coming back again.
Just issues.
Yes, I
look forward to political position. Are
you interested in politics?
Political trajectory, and also, some of the things is that around my profile, people don't understand my level of my political involvement. So we can have that at another time. We can have that.
Okay, that's all we can take on that. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, I think we have a Vox Pop. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we had our guest and she had to step out now, but I know we had a Vox Pop on this International Women's Day and we went around to TVC staff. Please watch this clip.
International Women's Day, as we know, it's a day of celebrating social, economic, political, and achievements of women all around the world.
It's a global event, and the theme for this year is Generation Equality, realizing women's rights.
So celebrating International Women's Day, I'm glad to be a woman. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 2, a boy and a girl, and of course, I'm a businesswoman too.
I am a wife, a mother, a career person.
Talking about motherhood, it's been quite fun, at the same time stressful, trying to mix motherhood and careers.
When you talk about you balancing what your husband wants, imagine how I have to cook every other day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for my kids, they have to go to school, come into the office early, and I still have to do my job.
And of course, when I get back home, I have assignments to do and I have dinner to make. My children are like on my neck, mommy assignments, and I still find myself doing the assignment.
Traffic prone, of course, and then you're with an infant, right? So it's not easy like in traffic, so you have to feed, you have to give water, you have to play. The playing continues. Babies don't know when the adult is tired. They want what they want.
And at some point, I had to work like very early morning. I have to be at the office at about, the latest time had to be 5 a.m. because you either had to produce or you had to be on the news or had to do some other things. So if you have to be at the office at 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m., imagine what time you would have to go to bed.
Oh, come on, especially in Lagos. People ask me that, how do you combine this? How do you do this? One thing that keeps me going is that passion. Once you have passion for something, you can go to any length to achieve it. It can actually be fun and sometimes stressful.
As challenging as it can be, you have to just, look for a way to balance things between work and your family.
Truth be told, it is not easy. One thing I do is I make sure that one does not affect the other, because you want to see results at the end of the day. And when I see this result, it keeps me going.
Where are we in that gender equality that we've been talking about since over 2 decades when this was created? Are we really there yet? The answer is no.
As a woman, I know the struggle. So we're using this opportunity to say, well done. Your efforts in providing a livelihood to your families, in making yourselves better, in putting and making the women fold proud would not go unrewarded. Well done, mothers, well done, ladies, well done, women out there. Keep putting yourself forward, continue to soar higher. I will encourage and I will advise. Let's support each other more. Let's be there for each other. Let's celebrate each other's successes. What is success if you cannot share it with others? And for the women folk, let's just be together, togetherness.
We are all equal, so we should see ourselves as one.
Everyone actually has a role to play. Once an individual is discovered or seen to have some specific skill set, then that person should be empowered to actually deliver on their work.
Let's sponsor the younger generations. Let's push them ahead. Let's guide, let's mentor, let's train them.
Not just for the women folk, but for every humanity.
Yeah, that's it. Happy International Women's Day.
And I'm done. Yeah.
Yay! Happy International Women's Day. Yay, equality. So, yeah, so, I'm sure we all can relate to those stories. I don't know, Mariam would like to share a few of yours.
Okay, so for me, the theme, each for equal. So I've been hearing this conversation all over social media. People are like, well, we are not equal. We can never be equal because God made us different. And I think maybe people are misunderstanding it. Is that equal treatment. You treat them equally. Not that we're saying, I am exactly like a man or I'm exactly like a woman. The thing is, if we were to work in a place, do you treat me equal? You should treat me equally, not because, you should treat me with respect, not because I'm a man, or with less respect because I'm a woman. That's just what we're asking. And if I put in the work, pay me what you would pay a man, or that does the same thing. If I do the right thing, praise me as you would praise the man that does the right thing.
Let me just hear a quick thought.
I just want to speak to the women that are asking for that equality, women that are demanding it, that you should believe that you deserve it, believe that you should earn it, and be bold enough to ask for what you're worth, and have that enough self-esteem to say, I heard you're paying this. I want to be paid this. This is the same work we're doing. We're both directors, or we're both presenters, or we're both. This is what we should do. So be able to speak up for yourself as a woman.
Your final thoughts on said everything. I've listened to all the women. I've listened to a lot of women because we're supposed to be multitaskers. If you need help, ask for help. You don't know how relieved getting help makes you feel if you don't ask. So I just pick up wherever I need it and I get it. So
I have to run off, but I think I'd just like to add the fact that I saw a post that really drew me. It says that this issue of equality is not a woman issue. It's an economic issue. It's an economic conversation. It makes sense for everybody because when there's more money paid equally, the woman is more empowered to make an effect across her family. So let's make it more, let's not look at it as, oh, they're trying to be equal. No, we're trying to be economically viable so that it affects everybody collectively. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.